Hello guys, hello. All right, a 5-minute client lab review. This one is pretty intense. There's a lot going to it, so I'm gonna really try hard to stay to 5 minutes, but there is a whole lot going on here. This client came to me, was basically just feeling like shit, is what she said. She has severe GERD. She has what's called Barrett's esophagus, which is having GERD for an extended period of time. It's damage to the lower esophagus, the part that connects into the stomach. She got to a point where she could barely swallow. That's how severe this got. And she was a smoker and heavy drinker. She stopped that, I want to say, I think maybe 4 months ago. She just started working with me, like just 2 weeks ago. So maybe 4 months ago or something like that. But stopped all that when she got to a point where she literally could not swallow anymore. So she has that going on. We have elevated insulin levels. She has been on iron infusions for the last 4 months as well, and we're going to talk about that. That was a big miss by the doctor, and I'll explain that some more. And then just severe weight gain, anxiety, depression, like all the things that go with feeling like crap all the time. Okay, so let's get started with this client. All right, so first page here, we're looking at glucose, A1C, and insulin. Her these other numbers here, liver enzymes, things like that, everything there looks okay. But her insulin is high at 15.6. At 15, it is technically considered pre-diabetic, having your insulin levels that high. And then her glucose is high at 99. So that means that the pancreas are working overtime to secrete insulin to try and help keep that glucose number under 100 at all times. So they are just getting taxed by her. It's, the organ is just working on overtime. Okay, so we have insulin levels, right? So we know that we're gonna have inflammation, and most likely some gut health stuff going on from having those chronic elevated insulin levels. You can also assume that there's probably some cholesterol issues going on, maybe some heart health issues, because typically our elevated insulin levels come from crappy processed foods, alcohol, things like that, things that are going to affect our heart health. Okay, moving on. We look, her thyroid, TSH is a little elevated. The other numbers look okay. That's like the least domino on the list here with her. I'm honestly surprised that it's not more elevated with the amount of stress on her body from feeling bad in all these other areas. But it is what it is right now, and we're going to move on to the bigger dominoes, basically. So if you look here at her CBC, you will see 5 markers here that are showing us that there is something off, right? There's something off. So when we see these like this typically means that there is some sort of viral or bacterial infection going on, and it's most likely in her gut, because of the previous stuff that I just spoke of, the GERD and all those kind of things that she has had for some time. That's what we would most likely deduce to, and we'll confirm that here shortly. But we see that and we know, okay, there's some infection going on. So here is the next page. Here's the cholesterol, as I spoke of earlier. The cholesterol is elevated, insulin is elevated. Insulin and cholesterol pretty much move together. So if we have elevated insulin levels, you're most likely going to have an elevated cortisol as well. So, or not cortisol, you could have cortisol levels elevated, but it's cholesterol. So we see that that's elevated, and we need to work on those measures as well. But here is the kicker and what I really want to talk about. So as I mentioned, this client was getting iron infusions, okay? And so had the doctor done this full comprehensive panel, he would have seen some of these other pieces and realized that the iron infusions aren't working. And that's why she was getting so many of them and not seeing a change in the lab work. Because, as we saw earlier in the CBC, that there is some infection going on, viral, bacterial, whatever it may be. When we have a viral or bacterial infection, our body feeds, or the virus or the bacteria feed off iron in the body. So one of the body's natural protective mechanisms is to bind iron to ferritin to keep it from the virus or the bacteria and growing and thriving off the iron. So we see here her ferritin levels are highly elevated. So that's telling us that we keep giving her these iron infusions, but they're not taking because the iron is getting bound by the ferritin because we have an infection going on. So this is what we're going to address and help her fix and get her feeling better. And then you can also see that her vitamin D is super low. It's at 22.3. Ideally, that is between 80 and 100. And where this can make a difference is in immunity, right? We want vitamin D. It helps us with immunity. It helps us feel better. But it helps with production of those feel-good neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin. So, you know, if we have this anxiety and depression going on, and we have all these other areas that are either too low or too high, like vitamin D is too low, that can amplify or just make those feelings seem even stronger or worse. So we definitely want to get her vitamin D levels up as well to make her feel better and improve immunity. So the protocol for this client is hitting the biggest dominoes first, which are the GERD in the belly. So putting her on some supplementation to increase the hydrochloric acid, get her weaned off of what are called the PPIs, the proton pump inhibitors, your Zantac, all that kind of stuff, because the only thing that they're doing is drying up more acid and just making this problem actually worse. So we're going to do a weaning system of getting her off of that and building up the hydrochloric acid in her belly and trying to make her feel better, to reduce the GERD symptoms and start to heal the esophagus. Melatonin is great for helping to improve the flap health. So we're going to get her on some of that in the evening. And then the big one is the insulin, trying to pull those insulin levels down. So putting her on a few supplements to help blunt the insulin response to food, to allow insulin sensitivity to improve, doing some exercise as well to help with the insulin sensitivity, changing the diet, obviously, improving or increasing exercise, and a few other supplements here, things here and there, to help her feel better quicker, basically. So that is the plan with this one. It's pretty complex, she's got a lot going on. And you know, all of this is due to environment and lifestyle. So all of this, we can get her off the medications. We can make her feel better by changing up diet, lifestyle, and then doing a supplement protocol with the nutrition and exercise strategy as well. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you find it useful. I hope you find it informative. And I guess I'll see you in the next one. All right.